evening. And I would love to invite you all into a really gentle meditation to kind of get us grounded into the evening, see where our bodies are at, welcoming ourselves where we are presently. So I invite you all to turn off your cameras if that feels comfortable for you. Really get grounded in your seat. Yeah, and so something that I noticed this week during my daily meditation was that even when I was doing like a deep breath, I was almost like snatching for the air, like I'm like rushing to get it in and out. And so I invite you, when we do our breath in a minute, to take it as slow as you possibly can. And really, when you inhale, try to fill up from your head to your toes, fill up your whole body with that breath. And then when you exhale, do it just as slowly. You're not going anywhere. This is where you're meant to be right now. And so I welcome you to take a breath, the slowest breath that you could, ever gift to your body. And let's just take a minute to do that. And I want you to notice now, wherever you are in your breath, maybe you're still inhaling, still exhaling. Maybe you've started another one. I welcome you to do that one just as slowly. Just really see how much your body has changed now. Maybe you're resting a little bit more in your seat. Maybe you're like releasing something from the day, really letting it sink down into the earth. And today, the topic being spiritual tools, I know we all have really beautiful and different relationships to spirituality. And I welcome you in this rested space, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, whether you have a connection to a divine source, whether you are don't really believe in that. That's okay too, wherever you are in your preference. Maybe you're just here to gain a sense of hope, maybe connect to that feeling. Maybe it's a tree in your backyard that you feel really strongly connected to as a source of divine care. But I welcome you now in this relaxed state to really ground in to that felt sense of, maybe it's safety, maybe it's hope, maybe it's gratitude. But really sit in that and relax into that and feel safe in that. Maybe take another slow breath. We're not snatching for the air. The air's not going anywhere. Just really take your time. Feel grounded, ready. Feel free to wiggle your fingers, your toes, get back into the space a little bit. And go ahead and open your eyes and turn on your cameras if that is your preference.
Thank you so much, Rain.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got Savannah. How are you over there, Savannah?
I'm great. And I noticed when we turn all our cameras on, there's so many smiles. And I think because everyone felt so grounded and relieved of stress, which is great. Yeah, I love it. Um, Once again, I'm Savannah, and I am one of the program coordinators in the Sisters in Motion program. And I welcome you all for being here and thank you for being in the space and taking the time to come together in community. I just want to go over some quick community agreements for this sacred space that we are in together. Number one, just moving forward, since we're going to be hearing from a bunch of different people, a bunch of different panelists, if we are not actively speaking and not one of the panelists, to keep ourselves on mute. And then also, since we are recording right now, if you do not want to be in the recording, just feel free to keep your video off, and then your face will not be shown in the recording. As we're in this space, sharing it, sharing ideas together, just making sure that we're allowing ourselves the freedom to express our ideas and feeling safe within this area together, knowing that we are with people who are here to support us in our learning and our growth. And then also, if we're someone who tends to speak a lot and we notice ourselves speaking a lot in this moment, just allowing ourselves to realize that this air is here, this space is here, and allowing other people who may not have spoken to also come into this space. And then also what I think is really important is just acknowledging the fact that the land that we're on was from Indigenous peoples within this land as well, and that the infrastructures that created the space that we're able to be right now was a production of the labors of Black and Brown people who were not compensated and exploited to this day, and just taking a moment of silence to acknowledge their sacrifice, the continued sacrifice of ourselves here today, and our ancestors as well. And then, and then as we acknowledge that, just acknowledging that we are within the struggle still, and that we are here, and that we are ready to move forward.
Thank you so much, Savannah. Wow. I'm so excited. We've been grounded. We have been reminded of a thing or two already. Um, I'm happy that y'all are with us tonight. And just so that we check in and make sure that y'all are ready, why don't y'all let us know either in the chat or even by coming off mute how you're feeling, like just within your body in this present moment. How are you? And also for those who are new to like our Wellness Wednesdays, y'all know I'm an old church girl. Like born and raised, like daddy was a pastor, all of the things. So I definitely like some good talk back. Y'all can feel free to always come off mute, be an amen quarter, whatever you choose to be. This is definitely a space where we are not preparing ourselves to talk at you. This is a community space in which we collaborate and have conversation together. And so definitely your comments and your energy is welcomed and fully accepted within this space. I see some folks who are, you're feeling hopeful. Me too. Tired, but glad to be here. I'm glad you're here too. Special and grateful, happy and grateful, feeling full right now, feeling grounded, very, very awesome, feeling calm and hopeful. That is beautiful. Very, very awesome. Well, we have an incredibly full night tonight. Michelle, I am hoping that this whole experience provides a bit of lift for you, and I am glad you're here too. We have some amazing folks here with us. I'm happy that they've all agreed to be in this space and share with you all tonight, share with us tonight. And I am going to get into the very first panelist who I got to think of a new word for panelist. It just sounds so weird in spaces like this to say panelist. It's like, I'm gonna call y'all sister friends. We're going to introduce our first sister friend tonight who is joining us. I met Alyssa a few years back, and a few words that instantly came to mind when I met her, like this very gentle, sure, vibrant spirit is what she has. And I was just so amazed at her poise. I don't know if y'all have ever like met a woman whose poise is so regal and sure. And she's like, when she walks to the room, it's not like she's moving and grooving and doing all the things. It's like when she enters, though, you know she's there, in the most gentle and beautiful ways possible. But if I read her bio, it says that she is a seasoned homelessness services professional with over 27 years of experience. She has worked in various capacities for elected officials, nonprofits, and philanthropic organizations in Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and Santa Monica. Her passion lies in reimagining neighborhoods as beloved communities, fostering a sense of belonging and providing resources for thriving. She is known for her expertise in community engagement, racial equity, and trauma-informed social justice practices. With a focus on Oshun consciousness and expressive art modalities, Alyssa promotes healing, justice, and reconnection to the indigenous selves. She holds multiple degrees, including a PhD in depth psychology, and her groundbreaking research examines the impact of homelessness on African Americans. Alyssa, you are such a force, and I am so glad that you are with us tonight. Alyssa is going to join us now. I'm going to pin you. And she is going to share with us about spiritual journaling. The floor is yours. Why don't you talk to us about, you can share with us about who you are and what is spiritual journaling?
Oh, thank you, Charity. Thank you first for that beautiful introduction. Truly humbled by it. And just thank you all for coming out this evening. I bring greetings to my ancestors, to your ancestors, and just glad to hold this space tonight. So when Charity asked about spiritual tools, let me back up. I'm an initiated priestess into the Ifa tradition as a priestess of Oshun and Obatala, which are archetypes or deities within the spiritual tradition. So we believe in one God, but we believe the world is animated and that they're different energies. And Oshun represents the energy. She's a feminine energy, but she's like the motherhood, creativity, fertility. She's like that spark that creates or generates like something new to emerge. And sometimes she can have a little, she has the other side, the shadow side, when things don't quite go away. So that spark comes a little bit faster than normal, but she tends to be a forceful and gentle spirit and is associated with the water. And so I just tapping into that, when Charity asked about spiritual tools, I was like, okay, that's all too complex though. Let's keep it simple. What do I do for my own self-care? And that is writing. I keep all kind of journals. I love going to Ross or like TJ Maxx or Big Lots to their journal section and get like the little $3.99 or $5.99. I just buy stacks of them. I keep one by the bed, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, and write. And writing for me, even when I'm frustrated, the work I do sometimes could be heavy, trying to move people toward compassion and people toward understanding homelessness isn't about a personal choice, but it's systemic and just the weight of intergenerational trauma and our society's trauma. And so sometimes my brain feels like it gets locked. It just gets overwhelmed. So I'll take a walk in nature and just be inspired by like new growth that I see. And I'll come back and just start writing. Or sometimes I'll play music, like Rumi. If you ever listen, it's kind of like the Arabic music and just kind of meditative music. And we'll just start journaling. And I just don't judge it, just rewrite in a style. And tonight, I just want to show you real quickly, because I know we some prompts, and I'm going to put a link in the chat of where you can find them. But these are just some prompts on your own time that you might be interested in just to help you write. Because again, this isn't your, I don't know, your fifth grade writing English teacher, who I know I had traumatic experiences, believe it or not, like in elementary and college, coming back with papers all bloodied and red and like, oh my God, can I write? Can I think? Like what? All the critique. It's not that kind of writing. This is you trying to write from the heart. It's like your heart is speaking to you. And so often we either don't trust that voice or we don't know that it exists. We don't know all of these like areas of consciousness within our body that are there to protect us and guide us and speak to us. And so how do you sit with that? And so that's why this is more like freestyle writing. So I'm just going to share this real quick and let me know when you can see it. Just a thumbs up. I know it's a little slow sometimes. Okay.
We see
So,
it.
oh, perfect. So this is just something, during the pandemic at home, I probably had to do a report or something else different that I didn't want it to do and procrastinate it. And when I wanted, I guess like a hobby or something, I love taking pictures of water, and I had been wanting to do a book around water and just our preservation and how we kind of take it for granted, even though we've been in a drought but just the way we pollute our waterways and just so much that we take for granted. And water, with Flint, Michigan, Jackson, Mississippi, I think even in Texas, we were talking earlier, different communities that are impacted. And so this, while it's based in Oshun, think of Oshun as a metaphor, like a healing modality, the healing properties of water. And so this is just inspirational, and I won't go through all of it, but it's just pictures of water. So you could just look at the picture and feel what comes to mind. Like when we did the land acknowledgement, imagining like indigenous communities that were here in these Catskills and, what their way of life was before the settlers came in. And then there also, scoot down a little bit. This is just a little bit about Oshun. But then it gets into questions. And so it speaks a little bit about an element or an essence of Oshun. So in this one is, Oshun is the source of life, the spigot where the water breaks through the earth to seeds, streams, rivers, lakes, and oceans. What vibration is the source of your flow pulsating? So you could just go through, look at the images. Maybe there's one or more that will speak to you more, and then you can look at the prompt behind it. Here's one about the ancestors around what is the essence of the footprints that you wish to leave behind. And so this is just my gift to you. And please send me feedback to let me know if it worked for you, if it inspired anything. But yeah, spiritual journeying is listening to your heart and letting that wisdom come and wrap itself around you, and knowing that, I don't know, we have to give ourselves more credit. Like so often we look to the outside for validation, but how do we start really when we center in, listening to that inner voice and trusting it, and feeling security in that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. We are going to have questions, both for Alyssa and the other sister friends who are going to be joining us. And so if you have questions, feel free to begin utilizing the chat, and we will make sure those questions get asked. And so Alyssa, stay tuned. We will be back in just a moment with you. I'm going to now bring Rocky into the space. If I can find Rocky, there she is. All right, found her. Perfect. So Rocky is another level of Black girl magic for me. I've been on this herbalism journey for, I think, a year and a half. It was like, hey, I've been making medicine for a few years now, and I wanted to get into a more disciplined practice. And so I stumbled upon some Black women who are doing the damn thing. And Rocky happens to be within that experience. And I was like, whoa, Rocky came into this Zoom with so much energy and she was so vibrant. And I was like, oh God, she's so intelligent. How does she know all of the things? And I wasn't necessarily I wasn't uber impressed because she was so intelligent and knew so much about the herbs. It was the questions that she was asking to like dive deeper into understanding very spiritual aspects of a particular ailment someone has, so that she can know better how to assist in helping them create more balance within their body. And the fact that her understanding of how the body and nature work together, I was just blown away. And I was like, who is this woman? And I would love to hear more about her practice. And so I was like, Rocky's got to be involved with this experience. And so I know for certain that herbalism is a spiritual tool that can provide mental health and wholeness. And when I hear of what is happening for many Black women and women of color, and what I see happening in our families, it to me is an invitation for us to get back into our roots. It's an invitation for us to slow down and pay closely attention to the pace of nature and receive the invitation that nature has to be with it. You know, spending time with it, either in gardens or paying attention to the spices and herbs that we use on a daily basis, and understanding what they can do in our bodies and for our bodies. And so Rocky is a hell of a force, and I'm happy that she gets to share with us how herbalism is a spiritual tool for mental health and wholeness. But since she gave me this beautiful bio, I'm going to read it. Rocky Douglas is a plant enthusiast, artist, and budding herbalist from Houston. She is currently hold on, let me fix my screen. A sociology PhD student at Brown University. Her research focuses on the relationship between Black communities and nature, as well as practices of inner healing. Overcoming PTSD and alcoholism led her to wellness and spirituality, which she continues to share to promote healing in her community. She expresses these themes in her thesis and her root care Zine. When not writing, cooking, or enjoying nature, Rocky organizes community wellness events and offers holistic products through Rocky's Root Care. She values the power of, now Rocky, I'm not gonna mess this up, is it Gotu Cola and Blue Varian, sea moss rituals, and supportive community for healing. Rocky, welcome to the space.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I even start, I have to just, it wouldn't be right without saying, Alyssa, that was so beautiful. I have to just put that out there. I really love the images that you shared, and the prompts were just so, like, I instantly felt them. And so thank you for bringing that into the space. My name is Rocky. I am a novice land steward, so I'm learning how to garden and farm, and I also work with a lot of herbalism. And as she mentioned, I started my journey as a way to heal from PTSD and alcoholism when I was in an undergrad in college. And I continue that journey because these 20 somethings has a lot of challenges, and I'm constantly learning more about how going deep into my ancestral practices, connecting deeper with different plant allies such as blue vervain and gotucola and sarsaparilla and elderberry, both to support my mental health, but also as a way to support the needs of my communities and others that come forward. What am I, Rocky, what do you want to say? I want to say that when I think about the question of spiritual tools for mental health, something that I really want to like invite is this question of like, what is like, to really just expand our understanding of what a spiritual tool is. Journaling, Reiki, herbalism, tarot, all of these things that we, typically associate with spirituality, I think are important, and also part of my spiritual practice and my I also study in Orisha practices, is this idea that there's Ashe in everything. Everything has life force energy. Everything is imbued with the energy of God or source or creator or whatever it is that you call that thing. And so anything in that sense can be turned into or understood as a spiritual tool. Sometimes, sometimes cleaning our room is a spiritual tool. Sometimes asking for help is a spiritual tool. Sometimes going outside and just being present with our more than human relatives, putting our feet on the ground. Sometimes that's a spiritual tool. One of my mentors teaches that faith without works is dead. I mean, of course, that's in the Bible, but the thing that she teaches is that sometimes, sometimes asking for help or working with these different plant allies or even praying for clarity, sometimes that's the work that we need. It doesn't always look like, oh, let me build a plan to do X, Y, and Z. It can be small in that way. And so for me, thinking about herbalism as a spiritual tool really comes from, not only learning and starting to connect with the sort of like language of plants, and the sort of experience. I like that Charity called it an experience. In the herbalism experience that I'm in with Charity, we learn how to not only think about, the medical and the chemical constituencies of herbs. Like, herbs support mental health on a physical level in so many ways. They can nourish our body and give us the vitamins and minerals that our nervous system needs to function properly. They can detox our body and reduce our toxin load, so then our body is better able to also get rid of things like adrenaline and cortisol, because it's not dealing with so many other like toxins in the blood or in the liver. It can energize us. It can provide nervous and memory support. They can, growing them can teach us how to care for another thing. There's so many things that we can learn from just seeing the way that plants grow and how they interact with each other and with other species, which I'm always trying to get into. But going back to the point, that was a little tangent. Something that Charity and I are learning in this herbalism experience that we're in is how to really tune into the language of plants. They have energetic qualities. Some of them are really fiery and energetic and energizing. Some of them are really cooling. Some of them are really cleansing. And that same action that they're doing in the body, they also have on our spirit. Like mint, for example. Mint is such like a cooling herb, but also using mint tea spiritually, pouring a little on my head when I'm doing a spiritual bath, cools me down energetically and allows me to like come back to myself. The same way that, stinging nettle has all these little prickly pears, and if you touch it, it stings you and burns. It's also a really great plant that is used for protection work. And things like, and so learning how to read the language of plants in that way. And I don't know if that's too woo-woo for people, and so we can stay more on the like, we can stay with our feet in the ground. But there's also, I just, that's just a little long tidbit of like a lot of different things that interest and excite me. I don't want to go over time, so I'm gonna pass the mic.
We're going to come back to you, Rocky. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Y'all, if you've got questions, either write them down or you can begin putting them in the chat, because all of our sister friends are going to be in this one space in just a few moments, and we get to fire off as many questions as possible. So thank you so much, Rocky. I'm going to circle back around to you in just a moment. And now who I'm bringing to this space is some more Black girl magic in the most profound way. Social media it could be a doozy sometimes. And when it's not being a doozy, it can allow you to just like stumble upon really cool profiles of amazing folks who are doing great work. I first found Christine and Jasmine just from like the algorithm like led me to them. And I was so impressed and just amazed at these two Black women, like Lauren, these two amazing Black women doing really profound work. You know, I mean, as a church girl, when I was looking into like tarot cards and crystals and all the things, it was like, this is a whole new world. And then all of a sudden, I saw women who looked like me, who were in that world, who like knew what the hell they were talking about. And I was like, oh, I can connect. I'm connected. And y'all are really helping us find our way. And it didn't seem so spooky and it didn't seem so foreign. It felt like this is landing and aligning so, so beautifully. And so I am happy that tonight we have the opportunity of meeting Christine and Lauren. Christine is a renowned clairvoyant and psychic advisor. She has established her practice across Washington, D.C., New York City, and Los Angeles. She's acclaimed for providing clarity to thousands, including celebrities and business figures and small town girls like me. Christine contributes to holistic wellness panels and workshops, helping people regain self-confidence and peace. A guest psychic at numerous events and a writer for esoteric blogs, she self-published tarot decks, which is amazing, that have reached 35 countries and gained attention from BuzzFeed, Cosmopolitan, and Refinery 29. Also joining us is Lauren. She is an artist, Reiki healer, yoga instructor, and co-founder of Pretty Spirits. As a healer, Lauren helps clients around the world grow their spiritual and physical body awareness. After self-healing chronic pain through Reiki energy work, Lauren committed to using her natural gifts to help others. During each Reiki session, Lauren provides her clients with a gentle yet powerful energy cleanse to relax their body and release stress, worry, or anxiety in its holding. She closes each session with intuitive guidance to help you maintain emotional and spiritual balance. Lauren lives in Woodland Hills with her husband and their beautiful baby girl. Thank y'all for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having
Hey,
us.
guys.
We're excited to be here. I love that you mentioned that you were looking for a way to make tarot and oracle cards more approachable and less scary, because that is exactly what our intentions were with all of our decks, is to help people use their own intuition and not get bogged down by the meaning of each and every single card, but to connect with the messages that were coming for them. So our decks are extremely direct. Christine downloads every single card in the deck. She'll sit and she'll channel the cards, and they come off very direct. Sometimes she sends me a list and I'm like, wow, I really feel like you're coming for me. Like, it's real personal. But that's how everybody feels when they use our deck. So it's not just me.
Yeah, exactly.
I hand letter or create the art for all of our decks, and then we collab on the final look and feel of them. So we have a flow, and we've created 13 decks together so far, and we have more ideas coming. We are best friends. We live in the same building. We are growing our spiritual business. We are working on ourselves together, our business together, and literally raising our children together.
Yeah.
So we are happy to be here with you guys, and we're also happy to be in this space in general. It means a lot to us. We went through our own personal spiritual journeys of finding ourselves, finding our peace, and now learning how to continue to maintain and stand up for our peace in various ways throughout this world as things come at us. So our company is our way of sharing those things with any and everyone who is looking for it.
Yeah, for me, I can really relate, Charity, to when you said you know, being in a Christian household. I went to Catholic school. It was very much about Bible. Anything else, you are going the wrong direction. And it separated me from even family members. And so this business and this path meant so much to me because it was so awesome seeing me come alive by just trusting that voice inside instead of running from it. And then also helping the connection between even me and my parents grow deeper as they see we step into this and use the tools in a way that does empower others. And it's not to control, it's not to place fear in others. So I think with that, it's been like this generational healing, this moment of, wow, okay, we can honor that intuitive voice and it can lead us to some pretty awesome spaces. And so I think that's our whole business model, is to help others find that voice, or to tap in and to really feel empowered enough to listen to them, instead of just, you know, what your friend says, what a family member says. Because even in school, the thing I majored in was because my dad did it. I feel like so much of us gets lost in the perceptions of others, and we are so proud to help other people listen to their passion, their inspiration, and find a playful way to do it. Because tarot and oracle doesn't have to be so extreme. Like media loves to play the dark, gloomy music and then make everything seem foggy and then deliver this fear-based message. But we want them to know that if you sit down with this tool, it's helping you trust your inner voice more. It's helping you decide for yourself, so that freedom can come from that space. So I feel really excited that now the world is opening up a little bit more and more and more to it. We moved our whole lives from the East Coast to California because it was more accepted here. So when I say I'm all into, you know, spirituality and using tools that help you feel like you showed up today in the best way possible for yourself, so that you could be better for, you know, your children, so you can be better for your friends, for your community. But it really starts with the self, and it's not being selfish to start with the self. So all of our tools are to help you feel as clear as possible, as powerful as possible, and to not shy away from taking up space. Yeah.
Wow, that is so beautiful. So beautiful. Oh, I've got questions on questions on questions. Because let me tell you, when I got my first deck, I was like, this is a lot of cards. And it was that moment of like, damn, do I need to know like what each card means? And I was like, for every card, I was like, okay, so let me flip through my book. And then I went through a tarot card like crash course. And the first thing the instructor told us was like, put your book down.
Yeah.
Put it down. Like, we need to remind ourselves that our intuition can guide the way. Like, you know what's going on in your life. Like, come on. Don't these cards, when they fall and unfold, ain't gonna tell you not much that you don't already know. So it's not like you're about to be surprised, you know, but the whole practice causes me to slow down and really be still and to listen. Because in a world that is designed, or in a country that's designed for us to be so dependent on those outside forces and the Google this and everything else, you literally have to like sit with yourself, quiet some of the noise and say, okay, so what do I see? What is really coming up? It gives us a chance to really understand spirit and ourselves very, very deeply, without the woo-woo of like, oh my God, this card.
But of course that, you know, society or media will make it seem in this space to seem fear-based, because that's an easier path to control. But we want people to have that freedom to decide and to see for themselves, instead of being fed something that is purely based in control. So it's fear for a tactic to keep you like small. And I'm like, here are tools to make you feel as grand as possible and to give you that peace of mind. So your friend doesn't instruct you to break up with them, and you following a friend's advice, and then you find yourself in more drama than you even need. Because if you had just listened to yourself and taken that leap of faith for yourself, and this doesn't mean that you don't seek out, you know, help when needed, but it's saying your voice should be the strongest voice in the room. And if it's not yet, then there's some work to do, and we have the tools to help you get to that place.
Yeah, it's so important, but so beautiful to experience having a daily practice. So we've got a series of questions to ask all of y'all. And I want to start with Lauren and Christine, since we are here. I'm curious, how often do you pull cards, or what does your day-to-day practice look like?
multiple times a day before we make business decisions.
Yes.
When I wake up in the morning, this morning it was, what's the outlook if I go to the park with my son this morning? And what does it look like if I stay home and just relax? It's that simple. It's in my everyday decisions. I just like to gauge when I'm feeling confused. I like to get out of my head and have a tool in front of me to show me the path ahead. And it doesn't have to be such an official, oh, I sit down, I light candles. Sometimes it's beautiful like that, but other times it's on the go.
Yeah, it really is.
What about
You pulled out decks in Target before.
Deck in Target.
And Target.
How will I feel? No, this particular lamp too. When I take this lamp home, emotionally, how will I feel about this purchase when it's in the space? It's so beautiful how you can use Oracle and Tarot, and it plays out, you know? If it looks like it's gonna be a return, then don't put it down.
Well,
I
for
love
those-
using.
go ahead.
I was gonna say I love using the decks too on like a deeper level. Also, purging friendships. We've gone through the run of it. So recently, I've been purging a very deep and very long friendship because we're just not in alignment anymore. And I've used the deck to connect with my truth and to self-validate and to really connect with, this is what I truly want to do, and this is what my people-pleasing version of myself wants to do. So just to keep myself focused and aligned on continuing to grow and to nurture the version of myself that I want to be the strongest, I will use the decks there to just pull on different paths and just help me feel more connected to the version of me that I'm really working to nourish. So I love using the decks for that self-reflection and for that personal moment with myself where I'm like, I just want to hear myself tell myself that I'm doing the right thing.
Yes, hear yourself, tell yourself. Wow. So for those who might not have a practice already, can you give us an idea as to what it looks like? Because for some, the misconception might be like, hey, you just wake up and you just start flipping cards. Or is it you ask a question and then you pull? Is it you pull one card, 3 cards? Like, what can a practice look like?
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's very intuitively led, even from the moment of a deck purchase, you know, or a deck being gifted to you, just making sure that it resonates with you. And then I would say starting with asking questions is a great practice because it defines the energy and it gives yourself focus instead of having your mind kind of, you know, go all over the place. And then maybe start with just 3 cards or just a specific amount when you're, you know, starting out. But then as you learn to trust your intuition more, you'll know when it's time to stop pulling. You know, you'll pull a few cards and maybe you need a little bit more clarity. You'll be in a relationship where you're exploring like a conversation with yourself, with your higher self, and you'll flow with it. So that's why when people are very strict on certain spreads that they use, and that, yes, you can, but also let's invite freedom into the space because it's really about your inner voice. And if your inner voice wants to keep going and keep, you know, dialoguing with you, then don't cut her off, you know, just let her keep going, like keep pulling cards. But I would just say, wake up or come to the practice with a clear mind. Don't pull necessarily when you're fear-based or when you're anxious and you're looking for something outside of yourself to validate you or to give you the answers. This is more so when you're balanced. That's when I feel you interpret the messages in a better light versus being terrified if you know, pull something that you didn't prefer, or being in denial and you push it away and you keep pulling to get the answer that you want.
That has definitely happened a time or two where it's like, oh no, that's not what I
That's not
wanted.
it.
Let me shuffle again because that ain't it. It's not the energy of the moment.
You wouldn't talk about me.
Wow. So for you, Rocky, what does a daily practice look like for you as an herbalist or a plant enthusiast?
Yeah, so I make a strong cup of tea every morning, and what that tea looks like is different. So on some days, you know, for example, I have like in allergen induced asthma. So some days it's like my herbal blend is very much focused on respiratory support and immunity support and nourishing myself from the inside out. Other times, because I'm a PhD student, I need something to help me with anxiety and memory and focus. And so I move towards herbs like gotu kola and lemon balm and blue vervain, and even things like rosemary and mint. Those are really great like memory support herbs. And so I usually start off my day with a very strong cup of tea, and I might also take I make capsules for myself, and so sometimes I'll take which are meant to be natural multivitamins, so they're made with like sea moss powder and certain herbs which are really supportive in different ways. And so I might take a couple capsules, and I might also like return back to that same cup of tea a few different times during the day. I also work at a local garden, and I volunteer at a local farm, where I also have my own plot. So I'm growing things. This is my first full growing season, so I'm very excited. And so at least 2 to 3 times a week, I'm actually having my hand in the ground, learning how to support these plants as they are growing, learning how these like what type of environment these herbs like to be in, learning like, oh, go like something like gotu kola is and blue vervain, they love to be in really really swampy environments, and take in a lot of water, and then they sort of add some of that energy into the body. And so just learning this some of the like learning some of the what's it called, the sim something, learning some of the like similarities between how these plants like work while they're growing versus what they do when they're in the body, is interesting for me too. Sometimes I will at least I'm trying to make it more of a regular practice. It's not as much of a regular practice as I would like it to be yet, but I try to do like a spiritual bath with herbs at least once or twice a month, usually around the new or full moon, or when things are, sometimes I'll go to my madrina, and when I'm giving offering to Olorun or Elegua, which one of the Orishas, that in the tradition that is, I think, Lukumi, which is the Cuban version of what Alyssa was talking about earlier. Sometimes I'll add herbs to my offerings to sort of invite the sort of energetic qualities of those herbs in support of the prayers I have. So if I'm asking for clarity or for ease in my life, for clarity, I might add an herb that helps with like memory support and like reducing brain fog, because I know it'll also have that same quality energetically. If I'm asking for clarity, I might have something like aloe vera, or something else like okra, or something else slimy to sort of like ease the path in. And so just thinking about the similarities between how herbs work across different spaces, whether it's like physical as it's growing and spiritually. And that's really my practice. I am a student always, and so I'm by no means painting myself as a guru or an expert, but I am learning every day and practicing what makes sense for me and doing my best to share that with other folks. And so that's my process. Oh, and I douse myself in body butter that I made. That is infused with herbal infused oils. Which is why this skin, no foundation. Come on, just come on. Just come on. And doing that work of also like putting the herbs on my skin. Yes. Speaking of Lauren and Christine, I see your comment. I love that y'all's brand name is Pretty Spirits, because y'all are so beautiful. Like so like so pretty. It fits so well.
Yeah.
But yes.
Love
Thank you so
it.
much for that, Rocky. I think
Yes.
I think one of my favorite ways to use the herbs, and the way in which I introduce it to my children first, is through those herbal infused whipped body butters. It's my
Hmm.
absolute, like, they know we don't use nothing else in my house. If your mama didn't whip it, it ain't going on your skin. Like,
Well,
and I'm gonna infuse it first, and then you can
yeah,
apply. And so
yeah.
mama keeps a plethora of options in the pantry. Take your pick, my child. So
Oh, that's so cute.
it's like one of the simplest ways, I think, to introduce folks to herbalism is through
Yeah,
something that you need to use every single day anyway. This
yeah.
melanin skin loves a good oil and a body butter. So
Don't she?
yeah,
Yeah,
so it's like I think that's one of the simplest ways to like introduce folks into, hey, use these herbs every day. Like, but it's
yeah.
body butter. But it was infused with calendula, hibiscus, rose, and all of the other things. So enjoy.
Plantain, violet,
Yeah. Yeah.
gold cola, horsetail. Yeah, one of my taglines is like, you'd never know I have eczema, which is crazy because you would never know. Um, and I also, as you were thinking about the everyday herbal process, one of my partner is also an herbalist, and he sells this herbal toothpaste that just goes stupid, and I just every morning I use it, and it's crazy. I love it so much, and I put everyone and their mama on, like my sis, like my best friend, she uses it and it got rid of an abscess in her mouth, and my sister uses it and don't have tooth pain no more. And just like there's just like these little ways that we could invite herbs into our life every day, like or whether it's like adding a little bit of like sea moss powder to a smoothie add in, or doing like a facial with sea moss or black seed oil or these herbal infused oils. Like it doesn't just have to be. I think one of the questions was, how do we connect to the energetic bodies of these different plants and herbs? And teas are great, right? Like it's one of the most direct ways to get it like in our body, but it could also be things like toothpaste, things like, when I have a cut, or I think I had like a little infection thing in my nose, and just using calendula oil that was antimicrobial, and then it goes away in 4 days. Um, or like whether it's capsules or toothpaste or things with your like things that you're putting in your hair, or like even if you're thinking about it from like a self-care standpoint, right? Making your own face mask, making scrubs, making like I make perfume oils. Like there's so many different ways to connect with plants. It doesn't have to, some people make flower essences, or got my little tincture right here from my local apothecary. There's so many different ways that we can do this. And so part of it is kind of what Lauren and Christine were saying earlier, is like inviting some of that freedom and following your intuition to figure out which one of those modalities make most sense for you. One of the other questions in the chat for me was about how does a budding, I thought that was funny. How does a budding herbalist get started on this journey? And again, I think part of that goes back to that question of following what is drawing towards you intuitively, while also honoring your specific learning style. So for some folks, they need something like a class, whether it's in person or virtual, or like a really good reference book, or like doing a consultation with an herbalist, and then building on those recommendations to be like, okay, well, these herbs are really drawing towards me, so let me like keep going down that path and doing things like that. For other people, they need to have their hands in things immediately. And so whether that's like starting to grow things, or feeling yourself like consistently drawn to a particular herb, something simple like mint, chamomile, ginger, rosemary, the things, so many of the herbs that are already in our spice cabinet, like Charity were saying, like oregano is great for immunity support. Thyme is great for respiratory support. Rosemary is great for memory. Thinking about ways that we can connect to the herbs that are already in our house. Cayenne and ginger and turmeric are all really great anti-inflammatories.
I love rosemary.
Yeah,
love
a
rosemary.
bitch loves
Like in my
rosemary.
hair, yeah,
Yeah.
thyme, and like in my body oils, like what Charity was talking about. Like I just feel like definitely like, and it changes too with like the season and my mood. Like sometimes I want like I might want like to add some mugwort in there, or I want to be like more
her.
zesty and like have some like lemon or something like that. I don't know. And the rosemary. Like I like a lemon and a rosemary together. Like that's always great.
You deserve lemon and rosemary together, you know? And so I think for people starting on this path, there are so, like, when you talk to folks, there's so many different ways to get started. So honestly, this might not seem like an answer, but the answer is to like go towards what is drawing you. Because what worked for me, which was starting with a class, well, I didn't start with a class. I started by going to an apothecary and buying 1 billion herbs and like playing around with them. And then I started a class. That might not work for everyone. And so if you're like, I really need a book, DM me, I can send you book recommendations. If you're like, I really need a class, I can also send class recommendations. But if you're like, I really feel drawn to burdock root, then go play with some burdock root, you know?
Definitely, definitely. I have a question for you, Alyssa, playing off of this. We're talking about like tapping into different herbs and feeling called things and incorporating things into our like daily practice. As me personally, I'm not usually a journaling person. So like what ways could I begin to incorporate spiritual journaling into my daily day practice as someone who's not really into writing that way?
Right. I saw some, thank you. And thanks to Lauren and Christine for sharing on tarot and just demystifying it for people and letting it know it's like our mirror in so many ways. And Rocky, every time you talk, I'm writing down notes like, okay, rosemary and all the all the guidance. I hope you have to do a book someday after the PhD, of course, or maybe that is out of the PhD. I would say, Savannah, for me, I was thinking about the question. You don't have to write, like someone put in the chat, they doodle or draw, so for you, again, it's tapping in. Your heart may speak in images. Your heart may speak in songs. Your heart may speak in doing those walks and recognizing, seeing different birds or other parts of the natural world that other people wouldn't see. And so, and I like how Lauren and Christine said, bring in freedom or liberate the idea of what we have for writing. And when I was thinking of Charity, like kind of the question of how do you do it in your daily practice? For me, I start with prayer. And it was interesting in the Ifa tradition, most of our prayers or like our what we call Odu. So not to simplify it like a Bible verse, but it's like our words of wisdom that come through divination. It's based because Yoruba is a tonal language. So it's based in like poetry and like spoken words, and certain vibrations hit you at different parts of your body when you say them. So it's not just the words, but it's like how the sound is also impacting your body. And oftentimes it's during my prayers that inspiration for writing will come out. And so I always keep a journal, or I may have to take a moment because it gets so intense. And then I'll even use Facebook sometimes. I'll just, Charity would tell you, my posts are like mini blogs, and it's just a download and it's just out there. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have put that out there on social media. But then someone would say it touched them or resonated or made them think about something. So just, I would say, be free with writing and what that means for you, and just realize it's a conversation with your heart or your womb. It could be, I kind of went through a year of talking to my womb because I just felt like I neglected and wounded her so badly for so long and ignored her. And so really cultivating this relationship with my wound. And that was a lot of my writing was around that, as well as I'm a breast cancer survivor. So going up into that and then going through that, just images about what did my breast mean and the sacrifice and kind of the warrior within me, who is she? And, so it's tapping into your heart is the easiest way.
Okay. I'm glad you're here with us. And thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you so much. I feel like I'm just like soaking in the wisdom. Also, I just have to say the energy in this like space right now, I'm like, this is divine, this is grounded. So just had to put it out there. It feels good. I really have enjoyed how everyone has had something really special and meaningful and impactful to say about their practice. And I want to take it back to Lauren and Christine and ask if there are any misconceptions about tarot cards and tarot reading, and if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah. You want to go first?
Yeah, someone just
Mhm.
posted in the chat that one of their family members thought that it was demonic. There's so many not just that, like the fear that's associated with, you know, religion and the Bible and everything, but some people have met psychics and people who read cards who aren't genuine, or who are just trying to get money out of you and telling you that you have things attached to you and they can release it for, you know, $600 or whatever, you know, like they've had these experiences. And someone came up to Christine one day at our store and said, "What makes you authentic?" And she was coming from a genuine place. It sounded like she was very curious about readings, but she was also coming from a place of basically, having some questionable experiences. So what Christine and I both do, she does readings and I'm a Reiki healer. And what we both do is share intuitive gifts and how we connect with people. Christine really connects with people's emotions and I connect with people's spiritual body. So what we do is very genuine. And when you have a session with us, and we even offer people free 10-minute sessions with us now, to get a taste of what it's like to connect with someone who genuinely connects with you and cares about connecting with your energy, your spirit, and helping you feel connected to yourself and something greater. So it doesn't really feel like a challenge to respond to those kinds of energies that come at us with you know, that kind of perspective, because we're so genuine and because we just trust in ourselves. And we've
Well, it took a while though.
Yeah.
It took a while to get there because, you know, it can be hurtful when you're being authentic and someone is just putting you into like, okay, whatever, a box. But then you realize like you only want to connect with people when they're ready, right? And when they're ready is open-minded, is just, you know, curious with a genuine like desire. I would never go after and solicit and like impose or pressure and all of those things. So I just think me being in that place of, again, freedom, like, are you ready? I think that consent really gets people to be like, okay, I can let my guard down. I'm not running after you in a parking lot trying to give you my card and saying I know a message for you. You know, a lot of people have gone through some wild things, and I think just giving people compassion, because we get it, like scammers gonna scam. The world has a lot going on right now, but our way is like, we want to hold space and give you answers, but also I think there's nothing like you knowing how to tap into your voice for yourself. So I like to do readings. I love that. But you know, my favorite client is the one that wants to go home and do the work. Like, that wants to go and dive in and see what resonates with them more. Is it journaling? Is it decks? Is it whatever it is for you? My game isn't to get like, oh, a bunch of repeat. I want people who like, oh my God, they come back and they're wealthy. They put into practice these things. They're in love. They're married. They're coming back with these beautiful success stories so that I can continue my mission forward. So that's what I love. Yeah.
I have a question for like all of y'all's, because all the things we're talking about could be like within like, I guess like the mystic realm. And like, as you began to, like it is though. As you begin to like dive into those spaces, like what came up with for you, and like with just as you began that transition, like what feelings came up for you? Was it just like a straightforward path? Like, did you feel any challenges within your own self? Like you talked about how you kind of doubted your authenticity for like a second. And then once you start to tap into it, you're like, actually, like this is authentic. This is where I'm being led to. And like, how can other people as they're within this journey moving forward on this path, as they have those same questions, what advice would you give them as they move forward?
I feel like for me, I noticed as my self-esteem, self-worth, and confidence grew, that the people I was drawn to were kinder. So as I was kinder to myself, like I drew to me kinder people. But when I was second guessing my own voice and my gifts and looking for external validation, I would meet people who said, yeah, I'll give it to you for a price, or I'll give it to you and then I'll take it away. So it's like, you know, through that law of attraction, you meet who you are. So I think the biggest thing I would tell someone else is to go to you and just figure out what it is that you want to get stronger at, you want to get clearer on, and have that relationship, that most important relationship, feed it, water it, be with it, and then go out into the world and see what tools work for you. Because I think sometimes just jumping out there and trying to find something to fix the problem, you know, it's just always going to be a slippery slope, and that's how people get taken advantage of. But if you take that time to say, I'm ready to know me better, I think you're going to be led down a path that aligns with you the best way. Nobody can sell it to you. Nobody, you have to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah. I'm just Rocky and Alyssa, you got something too? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that you know, before I dived into spirituality, I had before I took the plunge myself, I was doing in undergrad, I studied abroad at Howard for a semester and ended up taking some really amazing courses on like Black critical thought and also like African philosophies and religions. And in those two courses, I learned a lot about like different African cosmologies, be it like Bantu or like areas in Nigeria or Kenya or X, Y, and Z. And as I started learning some of these like basic concepts, I started realizing that some of the things my Southern Black family be doing is really African spirituality, but they don't call it that. And I think making that connection, that was the first connection for me, is, you know, learning that, you know, in certain African traditions, I forget the name of the one I'm talking about in particular, but it's a chapter in this book, African Philosophies and Religions, the purple one.
I was looking at that one.
Yeah, there's a chapter in here by John M. Beatty. It's awesome. It's impossible to find this book anywhere, but I have scanned a PDF of the I have scanned a PDF of the chapter I'm talking about because I have made dozens of people read it over the years. So if you send me an email or something, I'll be happy to add you to my my list of folks. But anyways, so learning the idea that like when we say the names of people who've passed away, when we remember what they've done, we keep those spirits alive. And then taking that knowledge and realizing I ain't never been to a family get together where they haven't said the name of my great great grandmother. And her name is evoked so much in the sort of like day-to-day decisions that people in my family make. And she passed away before I was born, but her name is constantly. This past Mother's Day was actually her birthday. I wasn't there, but my sister said when everyone was going around and praying, everyone did their prayers for Easter. And then at the end, everyone started saying, happy birthday, dear, happy birthday, dear, happy birthday, dear. And so everyone's saying her name, everyone's remembering her actions, and that keeps her spirit alive. So learning things like that, learning, you know, that the way my family responds when somebody sweeps your foot or when someone's trying to put something on you or things like that, like that's African spirituality under a different name, but we don't call it that because we're Christian. You can't say that. That really was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, because it made me realize like, oh shit, this is actually the source. This is actually what we are. This is actually where we come from. And then I also was so grateful that, you know, the therapist I had when I was healing through PTSD, my therapist was a real spiritual woman, and she didn't talk to a lot of people about spirituality, but I was going through some questions. And so I would come and we would, you know, and she had already introduced me to like sound meditation and breath work and different types of affirmation practices like that. And so I'm like, you can't do that and not expect me to come to you with the other sort of spiritual things that I'm going through. And so this Black woman, we would talk about things, we would talk about ancestors, we would talk about those deep sort of like meditations and journeying and things like that. And that helped a lot, as did lots of conversations with friends who were interested in the same things. And so one thing for me was, connecting the sort of spiritual work I do to an ancestral practice and learning and really grounding in the idea that there ain't nothing new under the sun. I am not creating this out my own ass, this comes from a long tradition. And two, it's similar to what Christine, I don't know which one you are. I'm sorry. I love you though. Similar to what Shorty just said, like there is a way in which you got to learn to balance the like how much of it is internal versus how much of it is external. There were parts of my journey where I needed to be by myself, convinced I was going crazy, in COVID, just going deep into the darkest parts of myself and just learning how to love that little scared child for all the shadows that she had, all the fears that she had, all the sort of bad communication skills that she had, because that's what she was taught, and really learning to accept that. And there were other times where I needed to be in community with other folks who were sparking my interest in things that I hadn't previously thought about, or who were calling me out on my bullshit, or who were interested in going with me to a ritual and like exploring a new tradition with me. Like there were and there was a balance between both of those that is really important. And so that's my answer. I'm really forward to hearing what Alyssa also has to say, so I'll pass the mic.
Thank you.
I think did Kiwi have a question? Do we want to take questions yet? Or?
I do see a question.
There's a hand up, and then we got chat too.
Yep. I can ask this one from the chat. Is it okay to get another deck?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That goes back to what Christine was saying earlier about using your inner voice, tapping into your own intuition, and recognizing when you are holding yourself back from growth because of conditioning. So tap into your own knowingness around your connection with decks. They're calling to you for a reason. So, you leaving the deck at another family member's house, that's not a sign for you to not use decks. If you needed someone to tell you that, I'll say it for you. Yeah.
And whenever you do anything like from love, if you're doing it from love, that's the intent behind it, versus you getting one to do anything from fear or for ill intent.
Yeah, your intentions are to grow.
Yeah.
So
that's beautiful.
Nothing good is going to stop you from that.
Yeah. Period.
Oh, I love that. Yes, period.
Yeah. Miss Wilkerson? Miss Wilkerson?
Yes, I do. And so my question is, and I'm sorry, I appreciate all of you ladies being in here. But like with Rocky, her having allergy induced, so I hope you guys can hear me okay, because I have a sinus infection plus an ear infection, but I suffer from allergies really bad. But nature and water, so what Alyssa showed with the, the water and the little I think it's the cat skills or those little cat things, like I love to be around that, but how do you balance getting out into nature when you're a severe allergy sufferer, but that's where you go to find your mental health? Were you guys able to hear me okay?
So if any of y'all want to come off mute and respond, I know Rocky was how you're
can I want to take the word. Kiwi, I totally get you, because I also have like mild to moderate asthma and developed it after I had my son. And it's hard because sometimes I miss the life that I had before I had asthma. And sometimes what keeps me grounded is knowing that there is a community of people in the world who have asthma and who suffer from allergies. And that, so what's been helpful for me is finding an asthma support group. So I'm in one, like a Facebook asthma support group. And that's just been helpful to know that some of the things that I've been experiencing, like if I have a flare up, like, of course I'll use what I need to do what I need to do, but then I'll go to the group and be like, oh, okay, there are 500 other people who had flare ups today. Like, I'm not alone. So that's one thing that supports my mental health, is knowing that I'm not on an island when it comes to asthma, nor am I the only birthing person who develops asthma after having their kid. So I hope that helps.
On a heart.
You. Oh, good. I knew I felt the energy, the question coming out. So I just wanted to pause for a second. And I don't know. I know for myself, just not always able to get out, but listening to like nature sounds or like water in the house or just plants, or just pictures and things like that. You can't, well, I can't show you, but under my desk, I have one of those artificial grass rugs because, especially during COVID, I was like, I need to have my feet, at least symbolically touching the ground. So I don't know if that may cause more asthma for some people or more conditions, but just finding other ways to bring in nature. But to the question at hand, for me, it was interesting because I've always been able to see spirits like from a child, and people are like, oh, you have imaginary friends, it's kind of that normal stage, but I always knew it was different. And I've always had very prolific dreams, like being able to dream and know when someone was about to pass away or something was going to happen, or get sensations, like I'm almost like a bird before earthquakes. I was like, we're about to have an earthquake. It's just a different vibration, to kind of tap into. So I think embracing my spirituality was trying to find communities to help me understand what that meant. And so for a long time, I would just hold it inside, but it's something that other people see in you and would ask questions, or, just even in family. I found out my grandmother, she was born with the veil over her face. And so she also had intuitive dreams. And, it's ancestral practice. It's so interesting, Rocky. I didn't have, growing up, the African spirituality framework at that time, but ancestral practice was important. I think for my mom, it was, I can't protect you from racism in the world, but I can at least make sure you know who you are. So knowing our family history and going back at that time, I think we were able to go back 4 or 5 and, continuing to develop our generations and continuing to develop those lineages. Memorial Day's coming up. My paternal grandmother, everyone went to the cemetery on Memorial Day and freshened up the graves and added flowers and things like that. So it was always the sense of knowing who you are. And then similar to Rocky, as I start to learn really through dance, I love Afro-Cuban, Afro-Brazilian dance. I love literature, like Caribbean women writers. And I'm like, who are they talking about? Like, who are these spirits and things that they're talking about? So that's how I started to understand different African spiritualities. When I was in Philadelphia, the Akan, which is from Ghana, is huge there. And so went for a reading, and that initiated my initial path into being a priestess in the Akan tradition. So really helping me pull everything together and understanding like dreams and those things. It's not a curse, it's a gift. But I think it was tied, like your experience with the tarot cards. I remember telling my family, who was pretty much Baptist, like I'm going to become a priestess in a con tradition. And oh Lord, it was a lot. It was a lot to process. And I ended up walking away from it. But then it's like your destiny is always going to knock on your door. And sometimes it's almost like you just have to step into it, because if not, you can get sick. It's like if you start feeling like conflict or insomnia or fractures in your relationships or just punchy or something like that, sometimes you're on a cusp of a spiritual awakening. So it's like lean into that and just ask for guidance. Like, what am I resisting? And how do I open up my heart so that I can surrender to really hear and feel? And, because I love how I think it was Christine was saying, like, we know inside our truth, but sometimes it's hard for us to activate it. It's because we're not getting the confirmation from our friend groups or our family. And so sometimes it's like in whatever your spiritual practice, if it's manifestation and trusting, however you look at it, the source, trusting that source and knowing that you came to this planet with a specific destiny. And yes, you can look around and see what this person or that person is doing. But if you don't fulfill your destiny, we all lose out on the potential gifts that you have to give. And to me, that's where I found the courage. Like if I don't do what I do, I could die tomorrow and I'll have good ideas in the graveyard. That doesn't make sense. Why not try to activate those ideas now? I think that answered the question. I'm not sure, but happy to answer any specific questions too.
Definitely. I think it definitely did. Do we have any other questions in the chat or anybody that wants to ask? I want to make sure everyone has
Oh,
time.
can I just Ty mentioned about her brother visiting her every day. And I was just saying, I think that's beautiful, you know, and on your altar, if there's certain times of the year or day, like for my ancestor altar, there was a moment where every time I made coffee, even in public places, I would end up spilling it on someone. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And then I realized, oh, my ancestors are ignorant, are asking for coffee. So I started when I made my morning cup of coffee, I made them a cup and I put on the altar. And then recently I'm trying to give up caffeine because my anxiety's been so high. So switching over to tea, I was like, well, I hope you guys like tea. Tell me what brand. And so now we're doing tea every morning. So to me, like there's nothing wrong with that. The fact that he's there providing companionship or comfort or friendship or just having that relationship, just honor it. And, you know, their little incorporate either daily, especially if he comes daily practices, you know, that he would like. And at the same time, I think that theme of boundaries is also important because sometimes it's also understanding why is he coming? You know, is he coming to support you? Is he coming to give you advice? Is he coming just to kind of hang out, or is he having a hard time leaving? And so we always just want to ask questions and also have boundaries, even because, you know, sometimes it's, to me, it's seductive. And this isn't for your brother, this is just in general when you open up spiritually and you start having these kind of outer world experiences, I'll put it like that, it could be kind of seductive. But it's just like any relationship, you have to really know yourself and your own mental capacity and emotional capacity and what can you take. We can't take on all of our ancestors, you know, issues or concerns. Some just like to come party and I'm like, I gotta study, bye, I gotta do work, come back later, you know, or some come to be mischievous. And it's just, you know, it's all out of fun, but like, not today, you are not, nope, gotta go. So it's just knowing that like spirituality isn't holy, you know, in our Christian paradigm, it's like this purity, I don't know, kind of sensation, but especially when you go into African spirituality, it's a little rough. It's just like you in community with everybody else and you learn how to negotiate it and know saying no and setting up boundaries is totally okay.
I'm like, I have somebody that keeps stealing one shoe. Like there's been like 3 pairs of shoes where I've only, it's one shoe. And they're only boots. I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? Like
I think, I don't know, that reminds me of Allegua. He likes taking things sometimes.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, put out some candy.
Put out some candy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I could do that. Maybe that's why, because I do love candy, but I haven't had it, so maybe he's mad at me. Okay, we have a question though from Rocky. I don't want to cut
From
you off.
Keisha. Yeah, I think she's unmuted.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know like if I could like interrupt.
No, yeah, go
You
for
can
it.
do whatever you need, man.
Yeah, that's been the
Okay.
whole theme is following our intuition and being in community and doing everything out of love.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Yes.
All right. Well, good evening, ladies. Glad to be here. Sorry, I'm in my PJs. I'm on the East Coast. I wanted to, I've been on my own like spiritual journey and I've been practicing hoodoo. And I've just been doing a lot of research within my family line. And I just had a couple questions just for in general and then specific questions for Christine.
I lost the audio.
Yeah, I
Oh.
can't hear. Oh, there we go.
I can hear you
Oh,
now.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I don't want to hold anybody, but my first question is when you when you start doing tarot or cards, is there anything in particular? I know everybody says, you know, listen to spirit, but is there anything that you can do to invoke a better reading from your cards, like specific crystals or incense or water, spiritual waters that you can incorporate to kind of strengthen that intuition? Because sometimes I feel like I have an intuition about something, but I don't know if I should. It's not even about like trusting that instinct. Sometimes you can have an intuition about something and then be wrong about it, and then find out that you're wrong. And a lot of that, I liked what Christine said earlier. I can't remember who said it. It was about like not doing the cards when you're anxious or when you're feeling kind of like off or like, you know, nervous or and so I'm not talking about that specifically, but like how do you know? And it's not like how do you just how do you know versus like thinking you know? I don't know if that makes sense. Because I don't want to like, you don't want to make presume anything, or like when you're doing like your tarot or whatever your take, like whatever you're getting from the cards.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. So one way I like, if I first get a deck, I'll pull a card of the day for that day's energy. And then at the end of the day, I'll see how it played out into my reality. And I'll do that for a while with a new deck just to see how it shows up, like to get familiar and more comfortable with it instead of
Okay.
like the deck and kind of giving too much like esteem to it. I just want to see how it relates to real life. And then when
Okay.
I do that enough, I feel like it builds up this like, you know, like with a friend, like, okay, I get you, you get
Speaking
me,
your language.
speak my language, I get it. So that is what helps me. And then also making sure, like I said before, your energy is clear, but I like using crystals too, like amethyst or clear quartz, and just meditating with it, because meditation before reading, it shushes the ego.
Yeah.
And it really allows that other voice to come through where it's not as, you know, doubtful or really expecting a certain outcome. It's just in flow. And the more you can kind of be in flow, the better, the more receptive you are, even if something may seem a little off-putting when you first pull the message, or you don't get it, or it doesn't resonate. I would sit with it and allow it to play out. So I think really having that patience with cards and allowing it to show up. And even if you think you're wrong that time, see what about that wrong really served you, and what were you supposed to, you know, what were you meant to learn from that experience? And you kind of put that into your arsenal. And then over time, you build up this confidence with that deck. Because I think it's not
Okay.
instant play, it's really this long-term, you know, building of confidence that comes with using any deck.
Yeah.
One thing
Okay.
I learned from you also with reading is perspective.
Yeah.
So you might have several different meanings that you apply to a specific card, but you can always learn a new perspective that applies to that. It can surprise you.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like she said, sit with the wrong, and maybe you weren't wrong per se, but it was just you needed to flip your perspective a little bit, and that helps you grow too.
Yeah.
Okay.
People pull the Lover's card in the tarot, just an example, and automatically think, you know, oh, love is on its way. But what if it's an awesome experience that makes you feel a surge of self-love, you know, or awesome partnership that you really just love and cherish, a new bond with, you know, a child. So there's so many different angles, and you'll get that over time. So just, you know, release the pressure and just be in a space of flow. But meditation with crystals does help, because all of that's doing, those external tools, it's just helping you be at peace. The more you're in that receptive mode, the more the answers can flow through. That's the only way I can do readings professionally. Because if I invite like what I think, that's what I'm like wrong about. People will come to me and I just know that it's not going to work or whatever, you know, and then I'll just flow and channel and get out of the way. And then that energy that comes through, it's like, whoa. And they're like, that's exactly how it happens. So we just have to quiet our minds, which is easier said than done. But meditation, crystals, going for walks in nature are a great starting point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Lauren and Christine.
You're welcome.
Thanks, y'all. And then Ty has her hand up. Do you still have a question, Ty?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, my mic goes in and out, so I'm sorry about that, y'all. But I want to direct this question to Alyssa.
Sorry about my dog.
I'm so struck by this idea of setting boundaries with the ancestors, because I feel like, oh, they're in the other realm. Like, why should we set boundaries with them? Like, they deserve that. They deserve our access to access us. Especially I feel because I think, I don't know, I'm kind of just processing through what you said, just this idea, because my brother died young, like at 21. And so I'm essentially older than him now in earth years, or on this side of the ancestral realm. And so sometimes I think, like, there are times where I do get woken up every day from 2 to 4 p.m. and his presence is there. But I don't know how to tell him to, like, bruh, like, like, I need you to, like, back off a little, because it's like, I kind of want him around because I didn't have him. Right. And so I'm just struck, I think, by the idea around boundaries. But I'm a mom and I need my sleep. So
Yeah, that's a boundary. It's
right.
a reciprocal relationship. So the ancestors in some ways need us as much as we need them. And what I mean by that is they need us to remember them. They need us to call their names. They need us to, pass on their stories and keep that ancestral connection. And they also need us often lift them up in prayers. So when I'm passing out tea to my ancestors, it's my ancestor offers mostly like all my grandmothers and mothers and great grandmothers and all of that. So I'm like, how did you guys sleep last night? We have a little conversation, and I just always pray, like, I hope that you're well. I hope that you're not overburdened. I hope that you're elevating from your life here on earth. And sometimes, just getting different messages. And then sometimes I'm like, all I can give you today is the tea. I'm tired. I need to do something else. And it doesn't mean they're going to disappear. It's like they've had the human experience, so they understand our limitations, and they understand your love and your relationship with them. And so for your brother to just say, can you come at 6:00 maybe in the morning, or another time, or a couple of days out the week, it doesn't mean he's going to disappear from you or from your life. If anything, it's like, wow, you're actually seeing me in relation. I'm not like this demigod, or I'm not this like something on a pillar that's super perfect. Like, you're accepting me as I am, and being able to have that conversation. I hope that helps.
I don't know that she's still here. I think her phone may have cut out.
I think I heard a soft yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah. It's a lot, it's especially a brother, that passed away young. That's hard. And I can imagine sitting with that too. And just, he knows you love him, which is why he's coming to you. And it's okay. Like I said, he's not going to disappear from you.
I think Rocky, you had your hand up.
I did, but then I realized that they were still talking, so I can wait until their conversation ends. But I also just want to put out a word of support. And like, ancestor work is such a beautiful and complicated and uncertain process, and I wish ease as you continue to navigate that. But Alyssa, I actually had a question for you, which is, as I'm working with this Lakumi house in town, I sometimes think about whether it makes more sense for me to instead initiate in a house in Nigeria. or somewhere else in West Africa rather than a Providence-based Lukumi house. With, I think the people who run that house, they're like fourth generation Cuban, like they've been doing this, you know, they're fresh in the US. But so my question is more so, how did you know that it was time for you to initiate? And how did you know that the tradition and the house that you were initiating in were the right ones for you?
That's a good question. So one, just for everyone, during the transatlantic slave experience, when our ancestors came, many held their traditions inside, and particularly in the Spanish territories, unlike the US where everyone was split up. And so you really not just split from your family, but like your kin, your language, or your hometown, your nature, kinship and culture and all of that. But the Spanish would tend to keep like Yoruba together, or a Hausa together, or a Khan together. And so the traditions were able to flourish much more strongly. And so, of course, there were adaptations. So, for instance, we may use cowrie shells, or a nut called obi, or kola nuts in Yoruba. They didn't have that in Cuba, so they would use coconut shells, you know, for divination. So you'll see these little deviations, and it's just how the traditions were able to survive. And out of that, Cubans and the Brazilians, I would say, mostly were able to really retain strong linkages and practices. And so now we have what we call their Lucchini or Santeria houses. And many people, like if you've ever heard of Lucia Tish, like she was originally initiated in a Lucchini house, because that was the only way we had access. We didn't have access to communities in Nigeria like we do today. So I just want to give a little cultural context around that. And Rocky, I would say the fact that you're questioning, you know, I would do divination. So for me, I knew I had to, and I was having dreams of death, and I was having dreams of like really understanding, like I'm not living up to my purpose, so why am I here? And so I went for divination, and it's because I had put aside my spiritual practice, and it was time to go back, and it was time to pursue the priesthood. But that came from divination. Divination is when you meet with a priest in our tradition, and the oracle, and they give you feedback. You know, it's similar to tarot cards. It's just a different way of accessing that. So I would recommend going for divination. And as far as like so I was initiated in Nigeria, but my Babalawo was here in Los Angeles. And there's some in Houston and other places. And I would really recommend finding someone that you trust, you build a rapport with, you know, just check in on their services or their books, you know, whatever, to see if you built it. And the reason, because there's so much to learn. And if your only attachment to someone in Nigeria, it's like we go back once a year, that's about $3,000 minimum each year. So it gets expensive, and that's only one, you know, we're there for like 2 weeks. And so you want someone that you can train under, that's a little bit closer to where you are, so you don't stress out financially, or, you know, just that distance. But then of course they should have that connection to Nigeria. That's also your home that you can go to at any time. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. I ended up getting divination with my Babala about whether I should initiate or like move forward in the tradition, and he said yes. But I'm also like, but you're I'm like, so like, I don't know, thinking about like, of course you would say yes about me initiating in your house, and so I've been thinking about that. But yes.
And it shouldn't be him saying yes. Ask him what was the Odu that came up. What's the Odu from the divination?
Yeah, I was like, because I don't know the Odu, I don't actually know what it said, but yeah.
Yeah, you can just ask him, say, Baba, you know, can you just tell me the Odu? You know, and there's so much. I mean, I wouldn't just Google it. I would look for trusted sources, or he could read the Odu to you. And just in the stories that are in the Odu, they're like parables. And so you can listen and see, does that resonate with you as well? And I always say, like everyone else has said, and you know, Rocky, when it comes to the plants, trust your intuition. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll hold space for other people to ask questions.
Yeah, and I'll send you my contact information too, if you want. Okay.
This has been so, so beautiful. I'm going to leave room in the chat for additional questions, but I also want to allow each of our sister friends to provide us with their final words, as well as where we can get more information on the particular practice that you informed us about tonight. Let us know where your website um, is. Let us know your Instagram, email address, how we can continue learning more about these practices and these tools. And let's have Miss Alyssa go first.
Should I just put them in the chat, all the tools and all that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You can.
Gotcha. I just want to say thank you. I think it's amazing that Black Women for Wellness holding space like this. We talk about Black girl magic, but we don't often have the spaces where we can unpack what does that mean and what are tools and practices that we can do. So I just feel honored and just thank you so everyone for sharing and knowing that because we connected in this space, just will be holding all of you up in love and light. And in fact, I'm headed to a Women of Color retreat tomorrow in Tennessee for the weekend, and our prayers and sweat lodges and all of that will be holding all of you guys up in space too. But just thank you for this honor to be here.
Thank you for being with us. Rocky, would you like to tell us where we can? Oh, yep, I see Rocky has dropped it all.
Yeah, I
in-
was like,
yeah, perfect. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
yeah. So my name's Rocky. I'm owner of Rocky's Root Care, which is all about helping us heal mind, body, and spirit through connecting with the magic of the plant world. So I have a spiritual care zine that goes through both things I've learned in my research, has a lot of resources, has journaling prompts, and different indentations into the self. I've recently, I have a long, for the last 3 years, I've been making like different body butters and skincare specifically made for folks with sensitive skin. But now I'm focusing more on doing like one-on-one consultations, mostly around like skin health and mental health. But I always say if anyone comes to me with any holistic measure, I will either help them or send them in the direction of one of my mentors who knows more than me if I'm not able to help them personally. And so I welcome any and all folks to come towards me. And yeah, I love connecting. I do different sorts of spiritual care events, mostly in the Rhode Island area, but I'll be doing virtual things at some point. But yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Rocky. And now to Lauren and Christine. Listen, I'm on y'all's website right now because I'm looking like, this money deck.
You can
But
find
I'll let y'all do the honors of dropping your link in the chat for all of us.
I'm working on that.
Yeah, and now we have an in-person location, which we are so happy about because it has been a journey to get there and to have a space to do in-person readings, guided meditation sessions, Reiki healing, to sell our handmade candles and aura sprays, crystals, sage. It's like a dream come true. It's been a lot. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you for having us. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for allowing us to hold space for the questions. And I really enjoy connecting in this way, especially being around little ones all day. I take my kids to the park and then I go to work. I mean, just talking and hearing and learning, it means everything. So thank you, Charity, for finding us and giving us this time. We really don't take it lightly.
Yes, and I hope that everyone in here takes a moment to thank yourselves for showing up for yourself and giving yourself this opportunity to learn today. So give yourself some appreciation because you did that too.
Thank y'all so, so much. It has been incredible to have a night that is so magical and sacred like this. I'm honored that everyone chose to show up for yourselves and agreed to be in community in this capacity. We will be sure to send out like all the information that is like popping up in the chat for everyone's websites and Instagrams and all the things. We will send out a follow-up email tomorrow with everyone's information. So it'll be easy for you to just like read and click in one spot. So don't feel pressured to copy and paste everything over. We will be sure to get you all of their information. Rain or Savannah, do y'all have any final words before we close the night?
Just thank you so much for all being here. I had such a great time being in the space and learning and talking with all of y'all. And yeah, I just loved it. And I'm excited to talk more, especially with Rocky, because I wanted to do a zine making workshop. So maybe we can connect around that. That'd definitely be cool.
I haven't done the type of like hand printed zine. My zine is like, I made it in
Right
Canva.
there.
It's all like pretty and things like that. So I was like, I can help you with like the sort of like this type of like designs of like things like that. But like other people's zines was like you like folding and like you like manually printing it. I was like, I don't know if I'm as helpful with that. But
I mean, it's just more so the idea of having information and deciding how you want to present it and disperse it. Like giving people the ability to
absolutely.
So.
Please
However
slide in
you
my
want to
DM, shorty.
Okay. Yeah, I need that book too, so
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. I will be there.
Yes, this was so amazing. I am putting this energy in my pocket for the rest of my night because this vibe is immaculate. Taking it with me everywhere. This was really, really great. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all so much. It's been awesome being in community with you all. To all of our sister friends, thank y'all for taking out time in your afternoons away from your little folks, away from Head Starts on vacations and retreats, and away from studies to be with Black Women for Wellness. We really appreciate y'all's presence, y'all's gift, y'all's insight, and just y'all's entire being that y'all blessed us with tonight. It is my hope that everyone continues on their path and know that listen, you are more than enough. You've got all the goods and you are fully supported as you go on your way. Be gentle is like my theme song for the season. And so hopefully y'all are gentle with yourselves as you incorporate some of these tools and as you deepen your practices and know that this is a lifelong journey. There is no urgency to get something right or to be perfect. Find your way, keep showing up, keep diving in deeper, knowing that you are absolutely where you need to be. All right. We love y'all and we hope that you are well, and we will be in community with you soon. See y'all next week. Next week, what are we doing? Are we doing, is that somatics? Somatics and physical movement for mental health? Yeah, that's next week. So it'll be in the email tomorrow too, in case y'all want the link to sign up for that. We look forward to seeing y'all next week. Y'all be well.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.